So, quick disclaimer, after I finished this video, I realized that I only looked at the top 30 films that the New York Times included, but there was actually 100 total. So, some of the films that I thought were overlooked were actually included in the top 100, but this video only focuses on the top 30. So, enjoy the rest of the video. Hello there, back at it. I just read the New York Times top 30 films of the 21st century, and I wanted to share my thoughts on them because, for the most part, I think they got a lot of it right, shockingly enough. Um, I'm in the Midwest, I guess, technically, South Midwest. I'm in the center of this country. So, things kind of filter down a little different here. A lot of what is held up with high esteem on the coasts, especially to the public around here, they couldn't understand it less. I mean, they really think y'all are out out to pasture, I guess, just out of y'all's minds. But in my opinion, I've seen a lot of films, and I think the New York Times is right, especially it says they pulled like a lot of people from Hollywood and other different professionals, and I've seen most of these films in theaters, and they left an impression on me. Now, there are some that I absolutely disagree with, and I'm going to bring those up while I'm talking about the whole list. And then I was going to substitute it with films that I believe were better suited for that. So we'll start here with the first film they had listed as Lost in Translation at number 30. I agree, it's one of the 30 best films. No argument there. Next, they got The Arrival. I can never say his last name, but it's Denis Villeneuve. I don't know. He's French Canadian. Great director. He's unfortunately stuck doing the next Bond movie, so we'll see how that goes. But I've enjoyed Dune. I really enjoyed Enemy a lot. I think that that's a really good film. But yeah, Arrival's a fantastic sci-fi film. Yeah, it'll be remembered. It's a really good one. So we'll keep going. Number 28 is Dark Knight. This is when I'm going to start going, I don't agree. I do not like superhero movies. It's maybe a character flaw, I guess, considering that they're so popular, but they just don't move me. I will say that Dark Knight is one of the better ones I've ever seen. I put it up there with Kick-Ass. It was well done. Christopher Nolan's a great director, but I just think he's done better work than The Dark Knight, and that's the only film that made it into the top 30 of his work. I would substitute it with Memento, probably. And I watched it recently after having watched it years, and I just think it holds up. I love film noirs. I should say I'm guilty as charged. I love film noirs. I don't the movies to me don't always have to have the biggest explosions, the big chase sequences. Sometimes like human psychological thrillers are freaking fantastic, and that movie still holds up. You could also make an argument, I think, for Dunkirk. It's probably the best World War II movie in the 21st century, I would say so far. I'm trying to think of one that maybe like more. Um, but it's a good movie. Dunkirk's a good movie, but to pick Dark Knight, I'm just like, I understand it did good in the box office. I understand it has the lore behind it because Heath Ledger died. I get why people really hold that movie in high esteem, but it's a Batman movie. I can't do it. I just can't do it. So we'll keep going. Next is Adaptation. Saw it in theaters, loved it then, love it now. It's a freaking great film. Spike Jonze directed the hell out of that movie. I love it. Um, Now the next movie is Anatomy of a Fall. I have to confess, I have not seen this film. Um, I've heard good things about it, but I haven't seen it, so I can't really judge to say take it off. So it stays on. Next is Paul Thomas Anderson's Phantom Thread, and this shocked me. This made the top 30. It's an okay film in PTA's repertoire, but I don't feel it even. It's not even half as good of a film as The Master, and I think that The Master should have its place, in my opinion. Joaquin Phoenix and Philip Seymour Hoffman, Amy Adams. It's I think it may be P.T. Anderson's masterpiece. And I read recently where he said it is my masterpiece. So if it's coming from the director himself, I really think that we should take that into account if we're going to be, you know, making a list of the best movies. We're going to put a movie on there. You know, but then again, you know, they direct a movie, they throw it out into the world. Sometimes we accept it, we don't accept it. It's just, it's one of those things. But I think The Master is such a better, such a better film. Um, Next we got, they put Her, Spike Jones, Her. I did not connect with Her. I did not, and I like Joaquin Phoenix. I like Scarlett Johansson. It just never got that deep to me. I wonder if it's on here because it's AI and they're trying to project like, oh, what's gonna. But you know, I think Alex Garland's Ex Machina is a much better film if that's what we're exploring, like, you know, AI and robotics and all that taking over than Her. Let's keep going. Next, it's Richard Linklater's Boyhood. I have not seen this film. I just got it on Blu-ray. Literally, I'm about to probably watch it tonight or tomorrow. So I'm not going to take it off. I've heard really good things. I love Richard Linklater. So I have no problem leaving that one on there. Continuing on, I guess this would be 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24, 23. So number 22 overall is The Grand Budapest Hotel, Wes Anderson. I liked it. I think it was a return to form for him after, in my opinion, a lot of films that just were not clicking with me. Moonrise Kingdom and Darjeeling Limited. And the Fantastic Mr. Fox is all right. I like the Isle of Dogs better, but yeah, I think that that's good enough to make it in the top 30. Next at 21 is The Royal Tenenbaums. I used to think that this was his best film, until I saw Life Aquatic, should I say, 2004, until I saw Life Aquatic. Life Aquatic to me is Wes Anderson's masterpiece. It deals with so many of his things. It deals with so many of his themes that he really dwells upon, like the absence of male figures, fatherly figures, the estrangement of sons and fathers, and I just think that it's a very good film. It's a film that's misunderstood. It's a little long, but I like it. I like being in that world, and it holds up. I watch it maybe once a year. I think it's his best film. I really do, hands down. If I met him, I would tell it to his face. So let's keep on going. Number 20, we have one of the first, I think, truly overrated films that I can't believe it made the top 20. But then again, this was done by the New York Times. They probably dealt with a lot of New Yorkers. I get it. And that's Wolf of Wall Street. I did not connect with this film at all. Saw it in theaters. Everyone was, you know, freaking out because, you know, Leonardo and Jonah DiCaprio and Jonah Hill really, you know, they're acting their asses off in the movie. And they are the best thing about that movie because the story, I just couldn't connect to it at all. I didn't care what happened to Jordan, I think Belfort or whatever. I mean, I literally was just detested by them, and not in a way that it's like, oh, they're interesting. I was like, no, literally, like, I don't care what happens to these human beings in this movie. They could just fly off the face of the earth, and I'd be like, all right, wouldn't move me an inch. I guess I don't really care for really greedy, self-absorbed characters that don't have charisma, and they didn't have the charisma for me. And especially at number 20, it just kind of shocks me. I think that immediately following that movie, Scorsese made maybe his best movie ever. I go back and forth between, and this is what I would substitute over for Wolf of Wall Street. I would put Silence. And if you were to know me personally, I am not the biggest Adam Driver fan. He doesn't, I don't know, he doesn't really connect with me. But Andrew Garfield was fantastic in that movie, and he really like blew me away to where I was like, I need to start paying attention to this guy. He is a really good actor. I kind of wrote him off for a while with the whole Spider-Man thing. Once again, I'm really biased towards superhero movies. I'm not gonna lie, they just do nothing for me. But I liked him in the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus, which, you know, I really like to probably try to get that up in the top 30. I think it's Terry Gilliam's best movie. But that in Brazil, you know, you have to go back and forth. But I really like the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus. So yeah, I really was shocked that Wolf of Wall Street there at 20. I would put Silence by Scorsese. I think it's a fantastic film, especially a meditation on faith and carrying faith in a world that is, up against you. As far as, like, if you're in the political climate, if you're in a place where, like, you literally couldn't practice this, how do you hold on to your belief in God? Just a really great, great film. So we'll keep going. Next, we got number 19, Zodiac, David Fincher. Loved it. Loved it. When my favorite types of movies are sometimes when I just don't want them to end, like, because the world is so just unique and well thought out and idiosyncratic, and it was such a damn good movie. I just wanted it to keep going and going. I could probably watch a 5 hour cut of Zodiac. I think that's nuts to say, but and it's a long movie as is, but I just thought he knocked that one out of the park. I loved it. Next, we have 18, Ye Tu Mama Tambien, also one of my all-time favorite films. I love this movie so freaking much. I think it's too low in the ratings here. You know, two boys coming of age take a woman to a secret beach, and the road trip where all the sexual tension and all this, but then the reveal at the end, which I will not spoil for you, devastated me, and I mean really affected me, teared me up. That movie is so damn good. It's one of the movies I talk to people, and I know because when I rattle off, You Too Mama Tambien, they're like, I'm not watching a foreign movie, and I'm just like, God, it's so freaking good. I just, some people can't be helped. So let's move on. Um, Next is Brokeback Mountain, Ang Lee. It's worthy. I thought it was a pretty good movie. Um, in the top 15, I'm kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of high, but it was a good movie. And so if they're going to put it in the top 30, I'm not going to argue against it. Oh, I just realized the next one, two Ang Lee's, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Of the two, I would pick Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, no doubt. I saw that in theaters 2 times, maybe even three. I definitely know I saw it twice because I was with a group of friends the second time, and I got ripped on because I had talked about how good this movie was. They get there, they thought it was going to be a dubbed movie, and it was not. It was subtitles, and man, people were pissed at me, and I like, yeah, I think it was making a group of like maybe 8 guys. You were in high schools, it's like, I think it came out 2001, so we were like, I was like 17, 18, and yeah, they were not happy. I remember I had one friend though after Zober came up to me out of like this group of about 7 or 8, one, and he goes, "That may be the most beautiful film I've ever seen." And I was like, "All right, it was worth it. It was worth taking this onslaught by the 6 or 7 others that were just brutalizing me over it." But yeah, I loved Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Moving on, City of God. I got it on DVD. I would have loved to have seen it in theaters. If I ever see that movie come to theaters, I'm going to go see it. I think it's maybe you know, one of my favorite South American films. It's a Brazilian film. It's one of those ones that could keep going for hours and hours too, and I would have been just as happy to just keep watching it. There's a grittiness to it that I love. It's not so super polished in Hollywood. Like, there's smudges around the outside of like the lenses, if that makes sense. Like, I love it. There's like a haze to it that you're in this basically a ghetto of, I think, Sao Paulo, I'm pretty sure. Not, or it may be, actually no, I think it may be Rio de Janeiro. It's one of the two. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10, without a doubt. It's such a freaking good movie. Seeing it on here, I want to go watch it again. All right, so now we're to the next one, and it's Inglorious Bastards. I did not connect with Inglorious Bastards. I know people hate Nazis. I do too. But the rewriting of the history. Christopher Waltz is great. What a revelation he was. But it was just not the Quentin Tarantino film that clicked with me, and I really enjoy Quentin Tarantino's work. Um, I would put Once Upon a Time in Hollywood over Inglorious Bastards. Um, but yeah, I can kind of killing Nazis, the fantasy. I can definitely see why it would be up this high on the list. So, but yeah, it's one that I could drop and switch out. Keep going. We got Children of Men. Children of Men. Clive Owen, Julianne Moore, Michael Caine. Uh, that was one of the most visceral experiences watching that movie in theaters. Not to give any away, but towards the end, there's a big climactic battle, if you will, and then there's a moment of silence through it, and you'll know why the moment of silence when if you see the film. And to be in that theater during that uh, was just freaking amazing. It was such a good movie to see in theaters, and I think a lot of these films too, they're better to see in theaters than they are at home, and that's why like maybe a lot of people don't connect with them in such a way, because you got distractions at the house, you got kids pulling at you or people calling you, whatever, your distractions. And when you're in a movie theater, you're locked into that screen. And I just think that some of these movies really benefit from that. So we'll keep going. The next one is Zone of Interest. I have not seen this film. It's on my list to see. To see it this high kind of blew my freaking mind. And now I really, really want to see it. So, Zone of Interest. Can't take it out because I haven't seen it. Next is Mad Max Fury Road. I think this may be the best action film I have seen ever. I loved this movie so much. The colors, the action, the freaking sound design, like, it just knocked it out of the park. George Miller, I think it's George Miller, I'm pretty sure. Absolutely knocked it out of the park. That movie was worth the wait. And I remember when I heard Mad Max is coming, I was like, oh man, because I really enjoyed the first trilogy, and I'm one of those strange people that likes Mad Max 1 more than and Road Warrior. Road Warrior's fun, and it's better than Beyond Thunderdome 3 in my opinion. Um, but the first Mad Max with, he's getting, this movie's been out for like 40 years, so I could talk about this and I feel like giving away too many spoilers, but more of a, his family being terrorized rather than, he's like the man with no name showing up to a town looking for gasoline, looking for a way to get out like he was in Road Warrior. Um, it was bigger and explosions crazier and everything in Road Warrior, but the intimacy of the family being terrorized in the first one made that movie really stick out to me. I saw it probably too young, but Toe Cutter to me is the scariest villain to this day. He's one of the scariest villains. That guy freaked me out, like bouncing between laughing and maniacally evil. It was a revelation. I can't believe he didn't do more work other than he got to be Immortan Joe in Mad Max Fury Road. I think that maybe his last role or one of his last roles. So moving on now, we got Social Network. I liked Social Network, David Fincher. Um, yeah, I liked it. I think he's done better movies. Like I say, I really think Zodiac's a much better film than Social Network. And for it to win Best Picture and all this, it's like, I know it's about Facebook and it's about, the founding of that company and like kind of the, take no prisoners approach that Zuckerberg went to grow it, and it's like, it's admirable that that you can focus on those types of character traits and really bring out charismatic performances that they did. Like Andrew Garfield was in that, and Jesse Einsberg. But yeah, it's not my favorite of this list. And once again, I'm really shocked that it's always so high. I saw something where Tarantino said it was the best film of the 21st century himself, and I was like, man, what the hell am I missing with this movie? Because it just doesn't click. And I should say, David Fincher directed the hell out of it. It's so well directed. And I think Atticus Ross and Trent Reznor did the soundtrack, which is, it's a really good soundtrack as well. It's just, I don't know. It's not that high for me, but it is for everyone else. So I'm the outlier. So we'll move on. Next, we got our first anime. Thank God they put one of those in. I've actually just started watching anime in the last 2 years after desperately searching for something besides, because I've been really disappointed with 21st century film, I'm going to be bluntly honest. And I needed something. I had a friend be like, you don't watch any anime. You know that like some of the best movies ever are anime. And I was like, yeah, right. Can't be, can it? Sure enough, it freaking is, man. Spirited Away 2 is a great movie. I really enjoyed it. If we're talking about animated films too, I think Toy Story 3 could be on here. I teared up in the theaters watching Toy Story 3. It was. I can't think of a third movie in my life since I've been born where three movies were all good, like all classics. I mean, you can argue Toy Story 1, Toy Story 2, or Toy Story 3, which one's better. I haven't seen Toy Story 4 because I'm actually not interested in seeing Toy Story 4. I know there's Toy Story 5 coming out. I want to leave it at Toy Story 3, and eventually I know I'm going to watch Toy Story 4. I got nieces, so I'll probably end up watching it with them, but like, yeah, I not to get off on all this, but basically, I'm glad they put one animated movie in there because there's no animated movies for the rest of it, and I think that um, they could have put like Satoshi Kon's Paprika. I mean, that's a I know that Nolan ripped that off for Inception. It's very obvious, and you could have a couple different movies in this top 30 anime that I've just started watching myself, and I am not versed in anime at all. I'm getting versed. I'm getting versed really freaking quick. I can tell you that because they are so freaking good. Um, yeah, I just can't get enough of them. Especially having grown up on Disney and all those types of films. There's a there's like this innocence that are guarded so much in the Disney films that anime doesn't mess with. Anime kind of pushes it a little far, a little darker, and I like that. Famously, Don Bluth, if you know anything about like Five O Goes West and all those types of movies, he left Disney to start his own studio, and American Tail and all those. Land Before Time, and if you've seen any of these films, All Dogs Go to Heaven, they're depressing. And he said that if children are not confronting, these scary things in life like death and abandonment and stuff, then like they won't remember the movies. And I think Don Bluth is 100% right. So, yeah, Spirited Away, going back to the list, that made the list. So I'm really glad it did, and it's in the top 10 where it deserves to be. Next, we got a movie called Get Out, and that's the Jordan Peele movie. And I did not connect with this film at all. Of all the films that we've had listed so far, I could argue like, it could be okay or not okay. Maybe besides Wolf of Wall Street, I did not like that movie at all. But I did not like Get Out. I thought I was insane. I thought I was starting to lose my touch. Like, why is everyone hyping this movie as the greatest thing ever? And it's just, it's to me, it's not at all. It's a being John Malkovich without any of the irony, without any of the existential kind of horror to it. Like, yeah, I know it's supposed to be a horror film. I know it's supposed to be an existential horror thing, but I just couldn't connect. Now, I'm a white guy. Maybe it's one of those things where if I was, black or a minority of some other color, that maybe I could get it. Maybe it would register deeper in me, but it just didn't. It really didn't. And I would get rid of Get Out, and I would put Ari Aster's Hereditary. That movie is one of the best horror movies I have ever seen in my life. The despair and dread just dripping from the screen as it was going on. It's one of the most uncomfortable I've ever been, ever, in a movie theater. And Toni Collette absolutely freaking crushed that movie. She crushed it so much, and I mean, it's a crime she didn't win Best Actress, because she was so damn good in that movie. And for a horror film, a lot of people dismiss it. A lot of times it's a lesser genre than thriller or whatever, but Hereditary was freaking great, and I would drop Get Out to put Hereditary in there, like without even thinking twice. I mean, I have to say, of all maybe every movie on here, I think Get Out was the one that I had the most visceral. Like, what? How on earth did that movie make the top? Like, I don't, and I still don't get it. I never will. It's gonna be one of those ones that is just I'm always gonna have to deal with. I think no one's gonna let me convince them otherwise. So moving on, one of the best films I've ever seen in a theater, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I read the script before the movie came out. I was so excited to see how the hell they were going to do this Charlie Kaufman thing, because like the script was nuts. The script was absolutely insane, and I couldn't. And Michel Gondry's a really good director, so I've always liked a lot of his music videos beforehand and stuff. So I was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to see what he does with this. And he destroyed it. They used a lot of those practical effects, and I absolutely love that movie. I rewatched it maybe like 2 years ago for the first time in, I don't know, maybe 10 years, and I was like, is this movie still as good as hold up? And it's like, freak yeah, man. I mean, especially now that I'm married and stuff like that, I was like, God, this movie is so freaking good. So yeah, I'm glad to see Eternal Sunshine made it up there. Next would be No Country for Old Men, the Coen brothers. It's worthy. 2007 was a hell of a year. That was the year that movie came out, and there's another one that's going to be higher up on the list. But you could, I mean, it's like splitting hairs. No Country for Old Men was a great Coen brothers movie. I really enjoyed it. Um, like I really enjoyed how stripped away it was. There was like no music, and it was just like this just constant chase that Javier Bardem's character after Josh Brolin's character, and it was just this dread for both of them. It's like, what does he do when he gets the money back? If he does, like, is it going to give him any sort of satisfaction, or is it just this cold chase? And is that all life is? You're just chasing something. And I don't know. I really thought No Country for Old Men was really, really good. Right after they did that movie, though, they did it was maybe like, oh, I think it was a direct movie right after, and they may have done Burn After Reading in between, which is also, I enjoyed Burn After Reading. But maybe my favorite Coen Brothers film, I wanted to mention it because there's one that I thought should have made the list, and I would have loved to have seen it, is A Serious Man. It kind of gets lost in their filmography, but I think A Serious Man is the Coen Brothers' best film. I think there's a reason they waited to make that movie until after they won Oscar for Best Picture and all that, because then they had the clout to be like, all right, now we want to do one for us. And you can tell it's an extremely personal film. It's set like in Minnesota in the late 60s in a Jewish community. But I found myself laughing at a lot of it, and I'm not Jewish, but I found myself like really identifying with the main character. Like all these trials and tribulations God seems to be throwing at you, and what does any of it make sense? I don't know. So I thought that it was just really well done. I really love A Serious Man. I was hoping that it would be in that top 30, and I never saw it. So we'll keep moving on. Next was Moonlight. I adored Moonlight. Barry Jenkins' Moonlight. It was so beautifully shot. I was fortunate to have worked on season 3 of True Detective, and I got to, not to get to know him a lot, but I did get to have a couple conversations with Mahershala Ali, which is, in my opinion, he may be the best actor in the world right now. He was so cool, so like open to not as so some of the other Hollywood actors there, like you weren't allowed to approach him, weren't allowed to talk to him, but like Mahershala Ali, I mean, I'm sure we weren't supposed to go talk to him either, but he would come up and just like start a conversation. I mean, I remember we were in the Crafts food line, and I told him, I really, I heard him over say like, I don't like Caesar dressing, and I was like, I used to be a personal chef and stuff, so I turned around and I was like, well, do you like anchovies? And he's like, hell no. And I was like, well, you're never going to like a traditional Caesar dressing because like, it's made with anchovies. And the look of horror on his face, because I'm sure he's eaten at some of the best restaurants on earth, and he's had to, maybe sometimes eat a Caesar salad. Or he's like, what is this? And hopefully I'm the guy that stopped him from ever eating it again, knowing that there's fish in it. Because he did not look very happy when I said that. I remember his handler behind giving me the biggest go to hell look, like, do not talk to him, but he was so approachable, and I know he's been talked to do Blade. I hope he never makes that movie, because I just think it would not lessen him, because he can't be lessened over a movie role, but I just don't want him to waste his time on Earth making superhero movies like that, because he is one of the best damn actors. And I'm saying all this because he's in Moonlight for like the first third of it, and then his character, not to give it away, but he gets killed off screen, and you just don't see it. You don't see what happens to it. It's just like he's gone. And I really felt it. I was like, I wanted to know more why he was gone. Who did it? And the characters were just like, oh, it's a fact of life, you know, that can happen to drug dealers in the hood. And it really stuck with me. I felt that deep absence in the film. And Moonlight is just an absolute. It's a watershed film, I think, in LGBTQ representation, because especially it's focusing on the minority community, where like that's historically really looked down upon. And Barry Jenkins just told that story with such a beautiful touch. I love it. It was so worthy. I one of those people that actually watches the Oscars, I'll admit it. And when they said La La Land, I couldn't believe it. I was just like, how can La La Land? And I'm not trying to hate on La La Land because I know a lot of people like it, but it is not Moonlight. And when they corrected it and said, no, Moonlight won, I was one of those people in the world that stood on my feet and was like, yes, because they were so worthy of being remembered as the best picture that year, because it was way better than La La Land, in my opinion. So moving on, we're in the top four, and honestly, ever since the top five, I think Moonlight, like I'm totally fine with all these movies being in the top five. Like I have no issue with any of these movies being in the top five. So number four would be In the Mood for Love, Wong Kar-wai, one of my all-time favorites. Such an evocative, emotional director. He's the only director I know that successfully can film an ellipsis in a script. You know what I mean? The dot dot dot. He is so good at finding connective tissue with like other scenes that he shot, that it's not normally beginning, middle, and end. Like he's not that type of director. He's bouncing all around, and there's random shots in there, but like they actually have metaphorical meanings, and sometimes not. Sometimes it's just mood meanings, and I absolutely love that film. I had the Criterion Collection, and then I got the other Criterion Collection with all his movies, and so I gave that to one of my best friends, and I was like, please watch this movie, because we have very different movie tastes. And I remember him texting me like, it was slow, but damn, was that not a good movie? And I was like, yes, like it is. It's beautifully shot, wonderfully directed. It's an all-timer. It's just an all-time great film. Next, There Will Be Blood, P.T. Anderson. I love There Will Be Blood. I talked smack on Phantom Thread, and I kind of feel like people want to put the Phantom Thread there because of Daniel Day-Lewis. He's such a great actor, and don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed Phantom Thread. I saw it in theaters. I enjoyed it. But There Will Be Blood is the superior film, without question. And between There Will Be Blood and The Master, like I talked, I'm actually starting to lean towards The Master as really his best movie of all time. But I was happy to see There Will Be Blood in the top three, because that was 2007, along with No Country for Old Men. And I remember being slightly disappointed at the time, because I'd only watched No Country like once, and I was like, it is not a better film than There Will Be Blood. I still believe that overall it's not a better film, but it's way closer than what I originally gave it credit for. So now we're into the top two, and I believe they nailed it. Number two is Mulholland Drive. I never got to see it in theaters. I went down to my local DVD place back in the day, On Cue, and I had a pre-order for when it came. They called me and let me come up there and pick up my Mulholland Drive, because I was obsessed with like Twin Peaks at this point, and David Lynch is such a good director, and he's singular. He's David Lynch, and he absolutely delivered with Mulholland Drive. When I went to film school, one of my first classes in film school was dealing with like mise en scène and composition and the montage, the way it's all edited together. And I used this film to instruct the class on how he was doing his Dream Logic, basically, movie. And I remember when I got up to do my presentation, there were a couple snickers like, he's going to explain the unexplainable. And I went shot for shot for shot. to explain. It's one of the first movies I ever really deconstructed completely. I know Mulholland Drive backwards and forwards, and it's still a masterpiece. It's worthy of being top two. It could you even could say it could have been number one, but I actually believe the film they picked for number one is number one, and that's Parasite. Parasite made me cry. It legitimately made me cry. I it's almost you see it's hard for me to like almost put it into words. It was such a oh man, particularly the scene where the father was explaining to the son when the son asks what's our plan, and he goes, well, that's the thing is you should never have a plan because life throws you so many hijinks that to have a plan you're just going to be disappointed. And I'm telling you, I felt that in my bones. I think that, you know, a lot of people want things to go a certain way, want their life to go a certain way, and you know, life has a different way of taking you new places. And I love that movie so much. I remember seeing it at my brother's house because it never came to theaters where I was, and he got it. We went over there and watched it, and afterwards I was like, "That's better than There Will Be Blood," which I've been telling everyone for years. I thought There Will Be Blood was the best movie. Um, and he was like, "No way! It's no way it's better than There Will Be Blood." And I was like, "Casey, that movie is an all timer." And it ended up winning Best Picture, which is like one of the first films to win the Palme d'Or, Cannes Film Festival, and Best Picture. I think it was like the first overall. There may have been one before. I'm not really sure. I have to double check. But I know since Anora won it last year, and I didn't really, I didn't really care for that movie. It's obvious it didn't make the top 30. Um, so yeah, I think that Parasite was so worthy. And, you know, and I've been reading a lot on the comments. People are like, you know, these movies all boring and suck and blah blah blah. And I'm like, what are we doing here? Like all those movies, especially the top five. There's the top five are worthy, in my opinion. They're absolutely worthy. And I wanted to add that I thought that there were like three films that you know I would have personally liked to have added and dropped out some of these other ones. Uh, Two, I mean, I have to go through and pick which ones, but History of Violence, David Cronenberg, I think is just a really really good film, especially for Cronenberg. If you know him, he's very a visceral director, and for him to kind of tone it back a little bit and tell a family story, I loved it. I thought it was a really good movie, and I think it's held up throughout the years. Another one would be Schenectady, New York. That was Charlie Kaufman's directorial debut. I thought it was wonderful, complex, upsetting. It's a movie that I still think about, even though I know it's not a traditional, like, you know, beginning, middle, and end type thing, even though it is a way, a beginning, middle, and end, because it has a final ending. It was a very, very good film, and it's one I think worthy of in the top 30. And the last one I wanted to say is I believe that this is Brad Pitt's overall best film, and it didn't make it. I was kind of shocked, and that's The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford. I adored this movie. There's not a lot of westerns on this. You know, you can I guess you consider No Country for Old Men kind of a western, but there was no westerns on this, and you could have like The Proposition, Assassination of Jesse James. Um, you know, I like westerns. I should be upfront. I do like westerns, so I was kind of shocked that there were no westerns in that. You know, like say I would have dropped that Wolf of Wall Street and Get Out. I would have. They're just not my forte. And I haven't seen Anatomy of a Fall and Zone of Interest, so maybe those would be ones I'd drop out too overall. But I really think that this was a freaking fantastic top 30 list. I've been loving reading the comments from people on Twitter just being like, I don't agree. These movies are all boring. And I'm just like, what world are we living in? Sorry, someone with a cape didn't show up or shoot something out of their hands or something. I'm so sorry. And I know that, I know that sounds really cynical to say and snarky. But, I cannot connect with these superhero movies, and I do not hold them in high regard. And so I'm glad that this list exists. I'm glad it's out there. I'm glad it's causing a lot of debate. and hopefully, if you haven't seen it, I'll put a link to it in the description, that you can go out and check it out, some of these films yourself, because they're really freaking good, and I think they did a good job overall. All right, thanks. Be back again soon.